everyone, welcome back. This is like the third video that I filmed today, so forgive me if I'm like winded. It's just probably from all the talking that I've done thus far. So for today's video, I thought we could go through my April wrap up and just talk about the books that I've read in the month of April. I feel like April was my best month yet, like ever. So I'm really excited about the books that I've read, but I'm also excited that I was able to read 7 books for last month. For some people that might not feel like a lot at all. It's just like I do that in my sleep. But for me, I usually just stay between 4 maybe 5 books a month. So the fact that I was able to read 7 full books, I'm proud of myself. So yeah, let's go. I was also able to pull some stats, and I think it's something that I want to continue doing as I do wrap-ups, because I like seeing kind of like a recap of my month of like lowest rating book, highest rating book, the average of like my ratings, see how good of a month I had, the total books, and also the total pages that I've read. So when it comes to the stats for the month of April, I was able to read a total of 8, well actually it wasn't 7, it's actually 8 books. I have one on Kindle. I forgot about that one. So the total books that I was able to read is 8 books in the month of April. The total pages read for all of that were 2,898 pages. My lowest rating was a 2-star, and then my highest rating was a 5-star. So I am so happy to talk about that 5-star. And if you've seen my previous videos, actually that one hasn't come out just yet, so get excited for that one. And then my average when it comes to like my ratings, it turned out to be a 3.6875. With all of that said, that's not a bad month at all. I mean, 8 books, 2,800 some pages, 5 stars in there. It was a pretty good month. So going into the books, I'm gonna be talking about them in the order that I read them. Starting off with the first book that I read was Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. I gave this one 4 stars. I do have a Magnolia Parks reading vlog, so for more of my thoughts, just go watch that. I really go into details there, but really enjoyed it. The way that I could describe this read and this story was just chaos. It was just very chaotic, very dramatic, very much so Gossip Girl, maybe even 90210 type vibes, where you have all the friends, drama, and all the things, the toxicity of the relationship, all of that stuff going on. That's this, basically. Really enjoyed it. I'm excited to read Daisy Haight in the next couple of weeks. So the next book that I was able to finish was Coming Hot by Elise Kelly. This was unfortunately a 2-star. I read this one on my Kindle. It was very much insta love. I think it was even a small town romance, brothers, best friend type of thing. So it was only like 100 pages, so it kind of read like a novella. It was alright. It wasn't like the best thing I've ever read, but it wasn't like super bad either. It was very smut forward, or very spicy forward, so just know that if you're ever gonna read this book. So yeah, the reason that I picked it is because I've had it on my Kindle for a long time. It was one of those weeks that I just kind of like wanted something quick and simple that I could just read on my Kindle, and I was already like 40% through it when I picked it up again, because I had started it a few months ago, but I never really finished it. So I picked it up again, finished it, 2-star, and I moved on, basically. The next book that I was able to finish for the month of April was none other than A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I still don't know how I feel about this book. I'm torn because I feel lost, if that makes sense. Like, I feel lost in the story and the characters. Again, this is coming from someone that doesn't really read fantasy, or I don't know if you call this high fantasy. Is it a high fantasy? I don't know much about this genre for me to talk about it too much, but in terms of like enjoyment, it was good. Like, I started reading it. It was okay. It was a little bit slow. Then I got to like 50 or so % into it, and then it started kind of like picking up a little bit. I read it. I flew through it at like 70%, I want to say, or 80%. It started getting slow again for me. So I was just kind of like ready to get this one done. And I'm happy that I did. I'm still confused about certain things. People keep telling me, go to the next book, go to the next book. So I do have the second book. You can see it right there. But It's a Court of Mist and Fury, and from what I've heard, we get to see more of like Rhysand in that other book and kind of like Ferris and his relationship or situationship or whatever we want to call it. I gave this one 3.5 stars. I feel like that was a good rating for me in terms of where I'm at with this series. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna hopefully pick up the next book soon, so we'll see. I don't even know what to say. We'll see. We'll just see what happens. The next book that I finished was One by One by Frida McFadden. I gave this one 4 stars. This was actually my first Frida McFadden book and I really enjoyed it. I devoured it in like 2 days and it's really short, so it's a very quick read. Really enjoy it. It kept me on my toes the whole time, and by the end I started getting a little bit of the creeps as I was reading it, so I love that when it comes to like a thriller, mystery, psychological thriller. I love that feeling of uneasiness when I'm reading like a mystery thriller. So this one got the job done. I'm excited to continue reading more of this author, and I actually have The Housemaid by her, so we'll see what I think about that one. The next book, can you tell about my excitement? Like I'm literally like blushing. The next book that I finished was Heartless by Elsie Silver. If you didn't guess, this is my 5-star read. I cannot stop thinking about this book, the way it made me feel, the way like I cannot stop thinking about the characters, Cade and Willa. I love this book. I'm even like shy, like just having to talk about it for some reason. Like that's how much I loved it. Like it made me feel all the feelings. I feel like we all need a Cade Eaton in our lives. I love their chemistry. I love this small town. I love the cowboy parts of it, and just kind of like how each character brought something to the table, and it wasn't like this little cute romance of like insta love and like I like you, you like me, we like each other, but there's really nothing else there. Like I really enjoyed the depth that Elsie Silver has been able to bring in with the characters of this series. And again, this is only the second book, but I really enjoyed the first one. This is my favorite so far from the series, so I can't wait to continue on reading about this. I really love this book, and it has a very high chance of being my favorite of the year, because I'm not gonna lie to you, this is my favorite book of the year thus far. Go read it if you haven't read it, and if you have, please let me know if you loved it as much as I did, and it's okay if you didn't either. And if you have any recommendations that are similar to something like this, let me know. Since I loved Heartless so much, I also wanted to read her newest release, which was Wild Love. This one I actually gave 3 stars. It was good and I still recommend it. It had that Elsie Silver charm to it. It just wasn't my favorite up from like Flawless and Heartless and like this one. This one out of the 3 I would say is my least favorite. I didn't connect with the characters as much as I thought I was going to, and I was a little bit confused about Ford's characters as well, which is the main male character on this one, which is actually Willa's brother from Heartless. So yeah, I don't know, some things just weren't clicking for me. I will say it was kind of disappointing, and I think something that might have had a hand in it was also that I came out of this high of Heartless and went straight into this one with like certain feelings and expectations from it, since again it's Willa's brother, small town, you know, Elsie Silver, pretty much the same world, and it just didn't live up to it. So 3 stars seemed like a good rating. It was good, something that I still recommend, but it wasn't my favorite. Then going back to Frida McFadden, I also read The Coworker by her, and this is one that I was slightly kind of, I don't know, it felt very lackluster for me at one point. I gave this one 3.5 star, so it was still good, and I think the reason I gave it like 3.5 instead of like 3, it's basically the ending. Like when it comes to mystery and thrillers, the beginning and the ending are super important for me, and obviously the middle and everything that's going on. But if I'm not hooked from the beginning, or if there's not something at the end that like gets me caught off guard, or like a huge plot twist or something interesting, then it wasn't really it's not something that I'm going to enjoy. So this one, it had me from the beginning, and then the ending I was like kind of like mind blown with it. And I've noticed that with Frida McFadden's, I can predict, but she's really good at just hitting you from the side with like this whole other plot twist that you didn't even see coming. That's something that I really enjoy about her books. I think what lacked for me was I figured out the plot of what was happening. So once I got the confirmation of that, I was just kind of like, well, I figured it out. I don't really want to read anything else because nothing else is really like exciting that's happening. All that to say, if you read Frida McFadden, definitely finish the books because I don't see how I can have any DNF like from this author because I already know going into her books, I need to know the ending. And I honestly feel like Frida McFadden hasn't missed, so I'm really excited to continue reading her work. And the last book that I have, I actually finished it like the beginning of May, but I'm just gonna count it for April because I want to talk about it basically. But that one is Funny Story by Emily Henry. This was actually the first book of Emily Henry that I read, and if all of her books are like this or similar to these, I think she might become one of my favorite authors, and that's by only reading one book. So that says a lot about how much I enjoyed this one. I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars. Really enjoyed it. I loved the story. I love the writing style of Emily Henry. It's very simple, but it's also, there's some like poetry to it at the same time. Like she has very beautiful like writing style. So that's something that I really enjoy about her, especially with this book. So now I'm even more excited to pick up Happy Place by her, and the other book that I have, I think it's Book Lovers. I can't remember. Yeah, it's right here. Book Lovers. I really enjoyed the way Emily Henry was able to provide depth in these characters, and keep in mind, for me, I feel like this was more character driven than like plot driven, but I kind of enjoy that because she gave so much depth to these characters and their relationship like separately of the things that they were going through and also like together. And then when an author does that, it makes me love the book even more and the characters even more. So yeah, like mad respect for her for that. Another thing that I really loved about this was communication. I don't know how many times I can read a book that certain conflicts and certain plots could be avoided if the characters just communicated literally. So the fact that she was very good and very intentional about these two characters communicating with each other sold it for me, like chef's kiss. So that's it. These are all the books that I read for the month of April, and yeah, let me know if you read any of these, if you have any favorite, what book was your favorite for last month, and maybe what you're excited to read in the next couple of months. Leave me recs below. I'm always looking for really good recs, especially now that I'm finding really great authors. So give me some Emily Henry recs, give me some Frida McFadden recs. That's gonna be it for today's video. I appreciate you so much for watching, and as always, I hope you'll have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.
You don't need to be Prince Charming to me. I just need this to be real.